and welcome to Good Grief, the podcast dedicated to demystifying and destigmatizing grief with compassion and humor. I'm Nikki. I'm an end-of-life doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And today I have another guest episode. I had on one of my longtime dear friends, Tori Michael. Tori is going to talk to us all about grief with chronic illness and chronic pain. And I will throw out a couple small trigger warnings here at the beginning. There is a lot of discussion of medical-y stuff and things to do with the body and all the icky things it can possibly do. So if that is something that's a little too much for you, you might want to skip this one. There also is a couple small curse words in here. So if the kiddos are listening, you might want to put them out of the room. We're not dropping F-bombs every 5 seconds. There's just a couple tiny little minor cursing. So just keep that in mind if that is something that bothers you or if you have kids around. Also, I have to do my due diligence here and remind you to please come over and check me out on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula. You can get access a week early to my podcast. You get grief affirmations and other bonus content. And you can be super awesome people out there like my friend Nikki or Tabitha or James or Robin or Carrie or Tracy. I've got a lot of great people on my Patreon list here. So if you'd like to be an awesome person and maybe get your name said here on my show, pop on over to patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula. All right, that's enough. Thank you. I'm going to stop talking now and we'll get on to my conversation with Tori. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Another great, super exciting guest episode. I've got my dear friend Tori with us today. Hi, Tori.
Hello.
Full disclosure, Tori and I have been friends for many, many, many years. We were just discussing how many years.
Yeah, it's about 20. That's terrifying. That's wild.
I feel
I'm
old.
not that old.
I know.
Oh, and now I apologize. The dogs are starting
That's
to
okay.
play.
That's okay. They do that. My cat comes in.
If you hear a squeak in the background, that's just a dog toy. I promise.
Okay. No, my cat comes in and knocks over the microphone sometimes, but he's asleep right now. So anyway, yeah. So Tori, thank you for being on my show. And I'm very excited for you. That sounds weird. I'm excited for you to tell me about how sad you are.
Yeah.
But
well,
you
thanks
have
for
such a
having me.
unique story, and I haven't really had anything like this before on my show. So I'm all about the different types of grief and sadness and losses that somebody out there can identify with. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you start talking about why you wanted to be on my show today. Tell us a little bit about you and your story.
So I born and raised Central Ohio area. Uh, I thought I was a klutzy kid. I was injured all the time. I got tennis elbow from playing the violin. That's not something I knew I could have. Yeah, literally, that's not something I knew that could happen should be the title of like my memoir. um, and I had knee surgeries and I was told, oh, I have juvenile arthritis and things kind of I would get tired more easily. I sprained, strained, dislocated things constantly. And again, I thought I was just a clot. But then after I had my son, pregnancy did a whole lot of things to my body that I, A, didn't know would be a thing, and B, confused even my medical team. So fast forward, it was about 8 years after I had my son that we finally got the real answer, and that is that I have a genetic condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is considered a rare disorder. Mm-hmm. It depends on the type. And so when I was diagnosed, it was early 2018, and they had just reclassified the different types of EDS. They're literally still finding new ones.
Oh, wow.
And
I did not know that.
Yeah, so there are 13 different types of EDS. There is only one that does not have a known genetic marker, and that is hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Um, However, I have a type called classical like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And classical Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is, or classical EDS, is what you would think of when people were first learning about the disorder. A lot of historical people with EDS, possibly, obviously, we don't know. They would go and do like sideshows for circuses and be acrobats and contortionists. That was a really big thing. And for a long time, it was like referred to as a contortionist disease because your joints. So, in non scientific terms, basically everything in your body that's not bone is made up of connective tissue. And my body does not make connective tissue correctly. Okay. It's the connective tissue you get on Wish. It's being held, my joints are held together with silly putty, essentially. And also, so are my digestive system. My nerves, that's a new one too, because, and that's where my other rare illness comes in, but I'll get to that in a second. All my ligaments and tendons are loose and they stretch out. The ankle surgery that I had like 4.5 years ago, they used my own tendon to like secure my ankle in my, it was really wild. Like I have 2 screws in my foot.
Okay.
But the problem is they used my own tendon and not donor tendon.
Oh.
So I will probably have to have it redone. And it's already headed that way.
You went through so much with that surgery too.
Yeah. And this, and it led to 6 other surgeries after that. And now I'm going to have it redone. But, it is what it is. I'm just going to wait until it literally falls apart. Because in the time period that since I've been diagnosed, there's a lot of discussion on whether EDS is a degenerative disorder. Okay. And everyone with it will pretty much say, yeah, it's degenerative, which means that my quality of life today is probably the best it's going to be for the rest of my life. And, it's raining today, so I'm in a lot of pain. My shoulders, I sleep, my shoulders will just like dislocate and lay on my own face.
Oh God.
You're the one who's around like dead people all the time. Like you should be. No, seriously, my body does weird stuff. And then that's where my other rare disorder that I never had even heard of until I had it, called Guillain-Barré disorder.
Oh yeah, I have heard of that.
If you've seen that, I think it's the Shingrix commercial. The Shingrix doesn't care. Yeah. They overpronounce it because it was named after a French guy. So right. Guillain-Barré, they say it really like uber French, and it's like doing too much. But so that one is autoimmune, and what happened there was my immune system, when triggered by a vaccine, unfortunately, I hate it because I want to be like, vaccinate, please go take care, protect me, because I'm not allowed to anymore because the vaccinations tricked my immune system to, instead of forming antibodies like they're supposed to, it started going, oh, am I supposed to eat my nerves? Because that's what it did. It attacked the myelin sheath around my nerves.
Oh no.
And since myelin is a connective tissue, the way my body has reacted to it has actually even confounded like medical professionals here. They don't know what to do. I have permanent nerve damage in my legs from it. I have a lot of pinched nerves in my spinal column that and a herniated disc, but who doesn't have a herniated disc at this point? Right. But it's because like the protective straw sheath that goes over the nerve is gone for a lot of mine. So that's what that did. And I spent 4 days in the hospital with that. And I am on the CDC blacklist, which I did not know was a thing.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the CDC, I had to report through the VAERS, the vaccine adverse reaction something something.
Huh.
Um, so like I'm on a list with the government, like, please do not get any more shots. Nothing else that can make your body so let
God.
this be my plea to please stay up to date on your
Yes.
vaccinations and
Yes.
remember COVID's still a thing.
Absolutely it is. Yes.
So part of why I wanted to be on is because um, getting mental health care
Hmm.
for someone like me that has a degenerative medical condition with no treatment, um, and that causes chronic pain. And chronic pain, there's been tons of studies, especially more recently, probably in the last 5 years, um, that chronic pain does lend itself to mental health degeneration as well, depression, anxiety, things like that, because there's a lot of things that I can't change about it.
Yeah.
Um, and trying to find someone who's going to be a mental health therapist who's familiar with, trying to think how to say this, familiar with chronic pain, familiar with a medical condition that I know is not going to get better. I can't, no amount of wishful thinking, no amount of whatever deity I could find, no amount of anything that other people might find comfort in is actually going to help me, because
Yeah.
in the end of the day, I am subject to what my body decides. So that's been something that I've been focused a lot on.
Yeah.
Um, Yay, being autistic, late diagnosed autistic, um, I made it a hyper focus. I spend
Yeah.
nothing. I Sorry, there's a fruit fly. I spend my days just reading stuff that is going to pertain to me,
Yeah.
because at least I'm ready for the Futurama head in the jar situation. I think I would be really good at that,
Yeah, I'm ready for bionic bodies. Like, let's just
right?
do that.
So, and that's the thing. Like, my mom is having she's having a couple vertebrae in her spine fused
Hmm.
in a couple of weeks. By the time this airs, it'll be over. But she's had both her hips replaced and everything. But she doesn't have, like, she has probably the precursor for it. Genetics are weird.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just whatever lottery mix of my mom's family versus my dad's family
Yeah.
made me that I'm a de novo case. So
Mhm.
that means I'm the first in my family line to be diagnosed with it. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people in my family that had it. Medical stuff for the older generations, you didn't talk
Yeah.
about that.
Right.
So finding out things after the fact, oh, yeah, by the way, grandma had XYZ, it's like, okay, well, that could have helped me before. But
Yeah.
when there's a disease that they've only really classified since 2017, and I was born um, long time before that, there's a nice space
Yeah.
in there of not knowing.
Mhm.
And the only thing that did was to damage that I didn't know I was doing.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's wild. There's a reason I have a tattoo that says never tell me the odds, because what are the odds? Like, I have
Yeah.
several rare disorders in a trench coat at this
Oh,
point.
I mean, hey, that's better than three raccoons in a trench coat.
I'd rather be the raccoon.
I think you're right. I don't blame. Oh my God.
It's the raccoons that live under my neighbor's deck is fat and happy and gets fed every day.
Mm, good point. Good point. Shoot. Well, God, you've been through the ringer.
Yeah.
Say the least.
And I've literally lost count of the number of surgeries I've had. I
Yeah.
think somewhere in 19, 20 is what I'm up to.
Wow.
And that's not counting like minor procedures that I had
Right.
anesthesia for. Um, and my spouse just had a hernia repair surgery like
Oh, my
about,
husband had one of those, so
yeah, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, somewhere around in there. So watching a normal person heal after surgery and how that's supposed to work has been a nice eye opener
mm,
for me as well. Because the last surgery I had a major breast reduction done, which,
mhm.
woohoo, I am
Good
now a
job.
part of the itty bitty committee. Um, I went from an H cup to a B cup, a lot of
Congratulations.
letters. But then I spent 3 months fighting where the incision
Yeah.
reopened. And again, that's because my skin does not heal like it's supposed to. Nothing in my body works the way it's supposed to, but
Right.
it is what it is.
Wow. Well, again, you've been put through the ringer. So I'm curious. I would imagine, I'm not going to try to guess how you reacted to things, but if I were in your shoes and I grew up the way you grew up and I was told finally one day, like, okay, well, this is it, you have EDS, I would feel like, oh, well, thank God I know what it is now. But oh shit,
Yeah,
for
that's the
lack of a better
thing.
term, oh poo.
It's
Um,
a it's a double-edged
yeah.
sword, right? Because one side you have the answer, the name of the thing that you're fighting, which makes a huge difference and has given me so much more information about how my body is supposed to react.
Hmm.
Um, versus, well, now I know,
Yeah.
right? It, some ignorance is bliss. Sometimes it is, but
Right.
yeah,
So I would guess there was some grief because you mentioned when we talked before this
yeah,
about like grief of the future, you didn't get to
yeah.
plan or whatever. So like,
I wanted to be the fun, active mom. I wanted to go do fun things with my kid. I wanted to, I was doing writing and theater, and
mhm,
uh, I was, have dogs and go on fun adventures and vacations and all that stuff. And now it's all completely different.
yeah,
A vacation for me is exhausting
yeah,
because it involves packing up medical gear. It involves packing up my wheelchair and trying to find accommodations for that. Um, and it involves dealing with a world that is built inaccessibly.
yeah.
Um, and it's one of those things like, people will say, oh, I didn't realize how hard it was to get around on crutches until I broke my
Mhm.
ankle. Um, or I was in a wheelchair for like 3 days or something like that. Well, I'm in a wheelchair for the rest of my life.
Right.
And I'm happy because my wheelchair allows me to do things
Yeah.
that would otherwise be exhausting. I can walk to and from the bathroom, which is 30 steps from where I'm sitting, and dislocate like 3 joints.
Hmm.
And it has happened. And then I get fussed at for, you need to be using your wheelchair and not just being stubborn and hobbling.
I would do the same thing. Full admission. I would
It's just
absolutely.
like, it's a hassle. And
Yeah.
that's why I don't go places anymore. It's a hassle. Wheelchairs are heavy.
Mhm.
And especially having a spouse that can't help me right now and lift
Oh God,
things.
yeah, shit.
I like seriously, it was the worst. My mother-in-law thankfully came and hung out for the first like 4 days after his surgery so that I didn't have to like there's a lot of stuff around the house I can't do.
Yeah.
For me, cleaning was cathartic and
Mhm.
fun and I enjoyed it. And now it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I like I can vacuum the rug and then I have to take a break. I can sweep the floor and then I have to take a break.
Oh,
And it just makes everything slower, longer, tiring. I always overdo it, especially when
yeah.
I'm feeling good. Then I'm like, oh, I got to use that good energy. And well, then I overdo it and then I'm worse off the next day.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I'm stubborn too. I get like I had surgery in 2019. I had my tubes tied. I'm not afraid to talk about that. But
I've had that one too.
yeah,
Mine,
they
I just had mine yanked out, but same
my
thing.
my OB was so cool. She's like, "Yeah, you'll be fine by the next day." And I was not. It took me a while to be, and I'm like, "All right, I want to go for a walk." And my husband's like, "Would you just lay down? You just had surgery." I'm like, "I'm okay." And I'd walk to like the end of the block and I'm like, "I think you might have to carry me home."
Yeah. No, that one I had in December of 21.
Hmm.
And that one knocked me. I'm like, I guess I'm way older than when I had my gallbladder out at 17. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
things
Well, you
change.
also have several disorders now
Yeah. Oh,
that
surprise.
hinder healing. So, gosh. Yeah. So how are you now? Like with your grief and your emotions and whatnot,
Um,
now that you've been living with this for a
Now
while?
that I've been living with it, it's been what, 6 years and 6.5 almost since I got the diagnosis. Um, I like learning about it. That's something that I can put energy, brain power towards. It's
Yeah.
something I can do when I'm sitting. I
Mhm.
don't have to, go anywhere or do anything. Thankfully, this happened in the age of the internet, and I have every information known to man at my fingertips. So
Yeah.
that's been helpful. Obviously, I've made adjustments to our house. When we redid the kitchen, we were thinking more about accessibility.
Mhm.
Um, and any future like vehicle purchases, we think about accessibility. I do art. None of this behind me is mine, actually. Uh, no, none of that. I think that one's a Mad Lab piece. That one's a Mad Lab piece. That one's local here. That's actually my great grandmother
Oh,
immediately
wow.
above me. That was a page from her sketchbook. That one's our friend Linda right here.
Yay.
That one is a local artist here. I have none of my art behind me, but I have it like literally all over my house
I've
because
seen your art. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
I get canvas and I paint and I do, goofy stuff online and digital art, and that helps time pass and it gives me something productive that isn't too exhausting, although I did get the tennis elbow from painting. I didn't think about that until like afterward. I'm like, why does my elbow hurt? Oh, I painted yesterday.
Painted too hard.
I painted too hard,
You need to art less aggressively.
right? Art's hard.
Yeah. That must be so frustrating though, to just be doing something you enjoy and like a simple basic task that would be nothing for somebody else.
Yeah. And then my elbow was like sore for the next 3 days, but
Oh,
I got a really cool painting out of it. So
yay.
that, yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's not like
Sell it for millions and
it,
pay for your
yeah,
next surgery.
right. Gosh, I'm still paying off all the other ones. I've got like
Yeah.
a rolling account with the local hospital system.
I'll just give
So,
you $50 a month until I die. That's all you get.
but I mean, basically,
Yeah.
that's what I'm till I die or leave this state that I'm in that I don't like.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and we won't, I try not to get into politics on this show, but man, I'm sure you and I could.
I mean, if
Fun.
not, politics aside, it's Indiana. There's nothing here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
There's nothing here. There's corn
I
and
mean,
race cars,
Ohio's
but
like
mostly corn.
there we have cement corn here. Got
You're
this
right.
we have the
We don't
cement
even
corn.
have this. We don't have fun art installations.
I
Like
poop on Ohio a
seriously,
lot.
Indiana is Ohio like 25 years in its past. It's super weird. Just and it's not even that far away. It's just
Yeah.
weird how the demographics are similar but smaller. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I poop on Ohio a lot, but we do have a lot of cool art. I will say we have some cool.
I and the state has a lot more to it. Indiana is very flat,
Yeah.
very flat.
Yeah.
I have to drive to see hills.
I'm sorry.
But we got
So
a really cool wind farm. That's
that is
neat.
true. You guys have way more wind farms than we do. And you have the Dunes National Park that's up by the
I've
lake.
never been up there.
I haven't either, but I hear it's beautiful.
Yeah, I figure.
So, how do your husband and son feel about it? Like, how do they work with you? How do they react?
It, Brad has been amazing. I couldn't have gotten luckier because the rate of divorce for people that have chronic disorders,
Mm,
cancer,
yep.
um, family members with cancer, it's very high,
Yes.
higher than I think the average population is.
Hmm.
And Brad has done great. He's filled in, he's learned how to cook, and he loves doing it. And he's way
Aw.
better at it than me. Zach is learning how to cook too, and is starting to take on some of that task. Unfortunately, we're still a teenager, so there's teenage things considerations there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, Brad has taken over ever since the pandemic. He does all the shopping
Hmm.
because for me, going out, I can't go out and push a grocery cart by myself.
Right.
It's like wheels and cart and wheel. It's just
Yeah.
like the physics is not there yet. Um, And we do not have the cool little wheelchair carts, but there are wheelchair carts. They're really neat, but we don't have them here.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it's Indian.
Wow.
As I snap my, sorry, those two clicks were my fingers. So he's taken on the task of all of that.
Mhm.
Um, Luckily, Zach is getting bigger and he can help carry stuff more often. He can help move my wheelchair. Um, and, when we're out, sometimes he'll happily push my chair for me if we're going up a hill or I'm tired or whatever.
Yeah.
He's talked about, I just got a motorized chair.
Oh, I
And
was wondering if you had manual and if you threw your shoulders out with
I, I, I do, and I do.
Oh,
I was supposed to have a power assist for my manual chair, but the way insurance and durable medical equipment companies operate and don't talk to each other, and
hmm
it ended up I was like, okay, just give me the chair. That's all I need, just the chair. That's it.
Yeah.
So I picked up one on Marketplace for like $300. It's an old person. I mean, like basically a jazzy.
That's
At
awesome.
least it doesn't beep when it backs up like the ones at the grocery store.
You just need to put some spinners on the wheels and like hang
Right? I've
out.
I've got a bunch of cool stickers on it, and it does have a little place for a trailer hitch. And my son is like, "Can I hook up a trailer hitch and then just
See?
ride?" And which is cool because knowing now that I have it, now I know what to look for in my kid.
Yeah.
And he definitely does have it. He's
Oh,
already had his first weird medical thing.
oh,
Um, the kid grows so fast and has stretch marks up and down his back, just because his skin can't keep up with how
yeah.
fast he's growing.
Oh,
And he has, joint issues, back issues. He's had some stomach problems, but at least now I know how to handle it so
yeah.
that he's not going to be doing the damage that I did not knowing.
Okay. That's
And, the one time he had to have surgery, I went in and said, I have classical like EDS that has surgical and skin considerations with it. And the surgery team was just like, got it, we're on it. He's probably got it too,
yeah.
agreed. And that's been great to know.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of validates his pain a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because that's the other thing is growing up not knowing, a lot of my pain was invalidated.
Mhm.
And whether that's by my family, friends, school,
Mhm.
medical people, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other like side of the sword that has the yay part is I have an answer and I can tell medical professionals that.
Yeah.
And, most of the time they've heard of it.
Yeah. I
I've
can't.
only been to a couple doctors that have said, "Hang on, let me Google that." That doesn't
Interesting.
inspire confidence at all.
Let me get my phone. What is this you have?
Yeah, I literally, at least two doctors have done that to me.
That's when I would.
Bedside manner, like literally standing next to me, going, "Oh, hang on, let me look that up." I'm like, yeah, that you probably had like a medical dissertation on it once in a lecture a
Yeah, I mean, that's
billion years
true.
ago.
The rare things they don't may not anyway.
And that's why the symbol is the zebra,
hmm
because they always teach you in medical school when you hear hoofbeats, think horse, not
Yep.
zebra. But there are zebras in the world, and
Yep.
I'm a zebra unicorn.
Yes, you are. Sparkly zebra unicorn. Well, and I mean, honestly, like, I get it. You didn't know what you had, and this wasn't really a thing when you were young, but n nobody should ever discount anybody's pain
Yeah,
because, and it's easy to do because you can't see it. Like, you walk up to
exactly.
somebody, you can't see their pain. They can only
No.
tell you there's pain. So I hate that.
And yeah, and dealing with that, and then to think about the things that I missed out on, the things I could have been doing younger
hmm
when I had the energy, when I had the
Yeah.
ability. Um, I see my cousin who's only a year younger than me. He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with my aunt who is in her mid 60s. They did that like last month, and I'll never get to do something like that.
Yeah.
I see your cool pictures when you go hiking. I can't do that. Like those are places I literally will never ever see in person. So,
Well, I don't know if this will help or not. Brendan took a video of this you can find, but we were up on top of one of the mountains in Vermont, and they have in the like where the camp shelters are, they have privies.
mhm.
They have wheelchair handrails and ramps.
Accessible on top of a mountain.
I'm sure there's like a law somewhere in Vermont that all bathrooms have to be accessible, but it's like
Yeah.
nobody could get a wheelchair up here.
No, I did see a really cool thing. There's like a wheel that you can strap. It's like a half of a bicycle. It's
Hmm.
made for kids so that you can, and it's like a backpack harness thing around, and it pulls behind. And
Yeah.
since it's a single wheel, it's a little easier to like
Mhm.
maneuver. But my big butt ain't gonna fit on
I've seen those
that.
too. There was a woman, God, I can't remember her name, who had a custom wheelchair built so she could do the Appalachian Trail. She did the Appalachian Trail in a wheelchair.
That's
It was,
it. Was it one of the ones that has like the tank
yeah,
tracks on it?
yeah.
Yeah, the action chair. Those things go for $10,000
Oh, I don't
minimum.
doubt those are not financially
Not cheap, but they
accessible.
look really fun.
Yeah, I was like, what? Oh, it was amazing. It was
That's
kind of fun to
wild.
watch. But good for her, man.
Yeah,
I don't
more
know.
power,
I'm able-bodied and I don't know if I could do half of what she did. So
right?
Um, so what would you say out there to anybody who might be listening who is suffering with chronic pain or rare genetic disorders?
My biggest thing that I like to tell people is find your people.
Hmm.
That has been probably the biggest thing for me, like the Facebook outage, the great Facebook outage of 24. I freaked out because that's where my support network is.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Um, I'm finding groups of people with EDS, people over 40 with EDS. That's, a whole other consideration because what a 20 something is going through that maybe hasn't had a major medical event yet
Hmm.
versus someone my age who has had several, there's different considerations there. Um, and just getting to know the chronic illness community,
Hmm.
disability advocacy has been another really big thing for me to pay attention to and learn from. Um, and then just like knowing my stuff. Um, I spend a lot of time learning how to pronounce the thing, um, which helps me deal with medical professionals better,
Sure.
um, because they don't talk down to you. That's a big thing. A lot of medical professionals will say, "Hey, I'm the doctor. Stay off of Google." Whatever. But no, if you know how to use Google to find legitimate medical journals
Hmm.
and you know how to say things like patellar-femoral chondromalacia and Guillain-Barré syndrome and demyelinating chronic demyelinating polyneuropathy or what, like when you learn how to say the big words,
Yeah.
sometimes the doctors will like treat you better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are my two biggest pieces of advice are find your people because we are out there and we're all online. We're like
Yeah.
chronically online because that's how we can
Yeah.
interact with people.
Absolutely.
And like you're the first person outside of my household family that I've seen in person in 3 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the lovely Panda Poo did us some favors and it kind of did us a disservice in that we can't go out and we can't have the little, like get-togethers, the zebra meetups. Those
Yeah.
things have gotten way harder, especially as mitigations have gone down and
Mhm.
down and down and down. And there's a lot of us who are still really vulnerable. So getting
Yeah.
out isn't exactly easy.
Yeah.
But there's so many resources online. Um, find a lot of them if you find like the foundation that does research for your disorder.
Hmm.
For me, that was the Ehlers-Danlos Society, and they will lead you to influencers on social media, pages, um, message boards. I don't know what you would call them anymore, like Reddit subthreads.
Yeah.
Um, and seriously, just find your people online, and that will make a world of difference
Mm-hmm.
in knowing how your body is more likely to act than a normal person's,
Mm-hmm.
because we can compare notes.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times people will they frown on it, but people will be like, hey, have you considered XYZ disorder? You seem to have more of those characteristics. And then the people can go and take that to their medical professional and say, hey, I've been doing research, I've been reading, I seem to have more of this rather than this. And that's how we ended up with me. I was actually originally diagnosed hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos,
Hmm.
um, because the gene marker for the classical like hadn't been found yet.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's super wild because they kept being confused. Well, I have more skin involvement like someone with classical,
Yeah.
but that's not a characteristic necessarily of hypermobile. So, oh, surprise, there's actually one that's like in between the two. And it's a very
Huh.
small little, my body doesn't make some protein right.
That is so fascinating. Our
Yeah,
bodies.
I've learned more about genetics than I ever wanted to know.
Yeah, that's,
I've learned more about medical stuff than I've ever wanted to know.
uh,
Like I could probably pass an MCAT.
I mean, I know some people that have passed the MCAT that are much less intelligent than you and I. We'll just we'll just say that. I'm not going to name names, but I've met some
Yeah.
professionals
I
that
mean,
probably should
I've been under the care of some professionals who I'm like, really?
keep trucking,
So,
buddy.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, finding your people, that's my
And I
biggest piece
preach
of
that a lot
advice.
on here. Like I'm all about group support because when you find people that are suffering the same whatever it is you are, like what a blessing to like have somebody that gets it, because
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
fully understand what you're going through. I
Yeah.
mean, I know what you're going through, but there's no way I can fully grasp how it is for you. But somebody else
Yeah.
who's in your shoes can. So,
Yeah, exactly. And I've made exactly one friend that um I found through the Guillain-Barré syndrome messaging, who she went through something similar as me, and because of meeting me, she found out she had EDS too.
huh.
So we've
Yeah,
become kindred spirits in that way. And that was, sometimes you can help somebody else out, just with sharing knowledge.
absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, as you probably know, I have a little tradition at the end of my episode. We got to pull a card from the death deck.
Okay.
I'm going to shuffle them up. I'm doing this on camera, so everybody knows I'm really drawing this at random.
Okay.
Eh, eh. Okay. Oh, this one's actually quite nice. Talk about a person in your life who you would consider wise, and what wisdom did you gain from them?
Hmm. Um,
I gotta think of one
my
too.
grandmother. No, my
Okay.
grandmother, on my dad's side, my grandma Kay, we call her Grams. Um, she is she's the one who gave me the let people be who they are and love them where they are, meet them where they are. And sharing family history with me, that's been amazing too. In fact, we found a picture of my grandfather at Christmas, the same age as Zach. And
Gosh.
it's uncanny how much the genes, I mean, that's what, three generations. So, and just her sharing her financial wisdom with me, she got us out of a lot of tough spots just by giving me advice instead of money. Um, but her big thing is to just love people where they are, and I really like that.
Aw. Shoot, I gotta answer this too. I That's hard because there's so many people I have looked up to throughout my life that I feel are wise and they're in all different ways too.
Right?
Um, my parents and I don't see eye to eye on everything, but my dad is probably the most financially smart-minded person I have ever met in my life, but he's also an actuary. Um,
Oh, yeah. See?
but my mom was, like you were saying, she was one of those people that always taught me growing up that I'm not better than anybody else because of what I have or who
Yeah.
I am, and that we're all humans, we're all equal. Because, I grew up in Ohio
Yeah. And in the 80s.
in the 80s, so we were not the kindest And,
No.
especially kids are mean. And I would say things from time to time and she would have to stop me and be like, that's not okay. And here's why. And I give her that respect that I grew up to be the person I am because of those things she taught me about, like, it's just because somebody believes in a different God or has a different color skin or has a different financial background, socioeconomic status. Like, we're all humans. And, I grew up in a very Christian household, so we're all God's children. And
Yeah.
so thank you, Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
I give you credit for me being the person I am today.
Well, your mom's pretty cool.
My mom is pretty cool. All right. Well, thank you. Do you have anything else you would like to share? Do you share your art on like Instagram or
I mean,
anything?
I have a website. It's spelled out 42squirrels.com.
42 squirrels. I'll put the link to
Yep.
that so people can. I love that. That's awesome.
It's just my goofy, dumb website stuff, and I've got, cat swag for because my cat, here, come here, cat. It's required, right? Oh, he's
Kitty. Hi,
this
cat.
is cat. He has merch.
Oh, yay.
He's like, okay, I'm going back over here now.
I'm done, mother. Leave me alone.
Exactly. So,
So
yeah, that's where my goofy stuff is. And I'm working on
awesome.
getting prints and figuring out how to do all that for like my actual paintings and stuff.
Yay. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Tori, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. Mwah. Thank you for
Tori,
having me on. I miss you so much.
I miss you
And you
too.
got to come see me.
I know, I will. All right. Thank you so much. All right, another huge thank you and shout out to Tori for bravely talking so openly about her diagnosis and her journey with her chronic diseases and chronic pain. Thank you. I'm sorry that you had to share this story, but I'm so glad you did. I'm hoping somebody out there is listening and thinking, oh my God, somebody who gets it. If you really enjoyed this episode, please feel free to leave me a review and maybe say a few words about what you enjoyed. It really helps the algorithm so more people can find me. And if you want to find me in other places, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Nikki the Death Doula. I'm trying desperately to get content out there for the world to appreciate. And as always, you can find me at nikkithedeathdoula.com as well. I would love to hear from you if you would like to share your story or if you have a topic idea you'd like to hear, shoot it out my way. I might just get an episode out of it for you. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, your grief is yours, your feelings are valid, and grief doesn't always have to suck.